We're counting down the 7 most famous bodies on Mount Everest, where ambition meets nature's ultimate test and every step can become a legend or a warning. From landmarks that every climber passes, to mysteries that have haunted the mountain for nearly a century, these entries reveal the unforgettable stories and lasting impact of those who never made it back from the world's highest peak. Which tale stands as Everest's most powerful legacy? Let's begin the ascent with number 7. Number 7, Tsewang Paljor's bright green boots mark the entrance to a limestone cave at 8,500 meters, a silent checkpoint for every climber on Everest's north route. On May 10, 1996, Paljor and his team from the Indo-Tibetan Border Police pressed for the summit despite a rising blizzard, radioing their success before vanishing in the death zone. For 18 seasons, his body, easily recognized by those vivid green koflok boots, became a landmark known as Green Boots Cave, a stark reminder that ambition on Everest can freeze in place. In 2014, after growing calls for respect and sensitivity, Chinese authorities quietly relocated his remains away from the trail. Paljor's legacy endures in the memory of those who pass where he once rested, a caution written in the snow at the roof of the world. Number 6. Frances Arsentieff reached the summit of Everest in May 1998, becoming the first American woman to stand on top without bottled oxygen. Climbing with her husband Sergei, she pressed upward into the thin air above 8,000 meters, where every step became a struggle for breath. On the descent, darkness and exhaustion separated the couple. Sergei made repeated desperate attempts to reach her, carrying oxygen and supplies back up the mountain. Frances was found alive, but unable to move by passing climbers, her face marked by frostbite, her words barely audible in the wind. Despite efforts to help, the rescuers faced their own limits as the weather closed in, forced to leave her behind. For 9 years, her body remained near the route, a silent witness to both devotion and the boundaries of rescue at extreme altitude. In 2007, climbers carefully moved her remains off the main trail, draping an American flag and a note from her son. The story of Frances and Sergei Arsentieff endures, a love bound by ambition, tested by Everest's unforgiving heights. Number 5, Hannelore Schmatz became the first woman to die high on Everest's upper slopes. In October 1979, after reaching the summit with her husband, she and American climber Ray Jenne attempted to descend as darkness closed in. Exhaustion forced them to bivouac at 8,500 meters, despite warnings from their Sherpa guides about the deadly risks of stopping in the death zone. Janet did not survive the night. Schmatz, weakened and frostbitten, managed to descend a little further before collapsing near Camp 4. For years, her body remained visible to climbers, a haunting figure sitting against her backpack, hair moving in the wind. Attempts to recover her remains led to further tragedy, with 2 rescuers lost in 1984. Her fate became a turning point in Everest safety culture. The German Alpine Club and international guidebooks began citing her death as the definitive warning against overnight stops above 8,000 meters. Today, her story endures as a policy lesson written in ice, reminding every climber that survival depends on respecting the mountain's unforgiving limits. Number 4. George Mallory vanished into cloud and legend on June 8, 1924. High on Everest's northeast ridge, he and Andrew Irvine were last glimpsed by Noel Odell, moving steadily toward the summit before a weather front swept in. For 75 years, their fate was locked in mystery. In 1999, searchers located Mallory's body at 8,155 meters. Face down, arms outstretched, rope abrasions circling his waist. His goggles rested in a pocket, hinting at a nighttime or stormy descent. One detail stood out. The photograph of his wife, which Mallory had promised to leave on the summit, was missing. The much-sought Kodak camera, expected to hold proof of a summit, was nowhere to be found. Forensic evidence suggests a catastrophic fall while roped to Irvine, but the question lingers: did they reach the top before tragedy struck? The search for Irvine's body and the missing camera continues, keeping Mallory's story alive as Everest's most enduring puzzle. Number 3. David Sharp's final hours on Everest in May 2006 forced the world to confront a question that still haunts every climber. When does the drive to summit eclipse the duty to save a life? Sharp set out alone, aiming to reach the top without bottled oxygen. By the morning of May 15th, he was found motionless inside a limestone alcove at 8,500 meters, barely responsive and suffering from severe hypoxia. Throughout that day, over 30 climbers passed him, some mistaking him for a long-dead body, others believing he was beyond help. Radio traffic crackled with hesitation. Do we stop or press on for the summit? Only a handful tried to intervene, but the delays, thin air, and confusion proved fatal. News of Sharp's death triggered a storm of outrage and soul-searching. Media headlines asked if Everest's modern climbers had lost their humanity. Expeditions tightened rescue protocols, and commercial guides began mandatory ethics briefings. The real summit, many argued after 2006, is not the highest point on Earth, but the moment you choose compassion over ambition. Number 2. Rob Hall's story on Everest is defined by a single unwavering decision: duty before survival. On May 10, 1996, Hall led his client Doug Hansen to the summit well after the safe turnaround time, driven by a sense of responsibility that outweighed even the mountain's warnings. As a blizzard swept in and oxygen ran low, Hansen collapsed near the south summit. Hall refused to leave him behind. Throughout the night, battered by wind and cold, he maintained radio contact with base camp and made a final satellite call to his pregnant wife, Jan, his voice fading through static as he said goodbye. Hall's last hours were marked not by panic but by calm resolve. He stayed, knowing the cost. His death forced the commercial guiding industry to confront the true weight of leadership on Everest. In the aftermath, guide training, turnaround rules, and client screening all changed. Hall's legacy endures not only in the climbers he led, but in every rule that now puts life above ambition. And finally, in first place, Scott Fischer's story stands at the crossroads of Everest's greatest promise and its deepest cost. In May 1996, Fischer led the Mountain Madness team up the world's highest peak, known for his strength, humor, and a guiding style that inspired fierce loyalty. But summit day brought a perfect storm of exhaustion and commercial pressure. Fischer reached the top late in the day, already depleted from helping struggling climbers and pushing past turnaround times. As the weather collapsed into whiteout, his condition worsened. Signs of high-altitude cerebral edema, slurred speech, and confusion. He made a critical decision, ordering his Sherpa, Lopsang Jangbu, to descend for help, refusing to risk another life for his own. Alone on the south summit ridge, Fischer waited for rescue that would never come. His body, found where he last rested, became a permanent fixture on the upper mountain. The aftermath of Fischer's death sent shockwaves through the climbing world. His reputation as an expert, someone who had summited Everest before without supplemental oxygen, challenged the belief that skill alone could guarantee safety. Debate erupted over the commercialization of Everest, the relentless drive for summit success, and the burden placed on guides to deliver results for paying clients. Fischer's fate, alongside that of Rob Hall, forced the industry to confront the ethics of risk, the limits of human endurance, and the responsibilities owed to Sherpas, clients, and the mountain itself. In the years since, his legacy has shaped new rules, stricter permit limits, mandatory guide training, and renewed focus on Sherpa welfare. Fischer's story is not just a cautionary tale. It is a call to remember that Everest's rewards are never free, and that the real measure of success is returning with compassion and respect intact. From Sawang Paljor's bright green boots, a silent warning to every climber, to the far-reaching legacy of Scott Fischer's final ascent, these 7 stories trace the line between ambition and Everest's unforgiving reality. Across all entries, a common thread emerges: Human courage is matched only by nature's indifference. The most shocking moments, the mystery of George Mallory's lost summit, David Sharp's lonely struggle as dozens passed by, and the ultimate sacrifices of Rob Hall and Scott Fisher show that heroism and tragedy often walk side by side on the world's highest slopes. Each case made this list not just for its fame, but for the way it changed Everest's culture, safety rules, or ethical debates. Together they reveal that climbing Everest is never just about reaching the top. It's about the choices, risks, and responsibilities that define every step. In the end, these legacies remind us the mountain's most enduring lessons are not about conquest, but about respect, empathy, and the high cost of human aspiration.